Lee is the one that looks a little bit like the Milky Bar kid. And then,
That's me.
Yeah.
Appreciate you saying that.
But,
Won't forget me.
welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Swans Cast Podcast then. So, very happy to introduce the guest with us today. So, welcome, Benjamin Bloom. Got your name right there?
Absolutely. Do you know I've been accused of being both anti-Swansea and anti-Welsh
I think I saw
on
you
my
talking
channel?
about
Can you
that.
imagine that?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't
On the
accuse
internet, yes. You don't have particularly prickly fans. I've always gotten quite well with Swansea fans, I thought.
There's a section that's a bit loud, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best.
Maybe
It's probably the best way to put it. Swansea Twitter can be interesting sometimes, but we did a video, a couple of videos about that. Yeah. Anyway, I've also got Lee and John with me today. So the first part of the podcast, we're going to be talking with Ben about a little bit about himself and what he thinks about Swansea this season and some of the more recent controversies, if you like. So we'll get into that. As always, though, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Spotify, give us a follow and like the video on YouTube. Get engaged in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of what Ben's got to say about our season, because he's obviously looking at this from a neutral sort of perspective. So it's going to be interesting to see his thoughts. Okay. So Ben, obviously I watch a lot of your content. So I think from what I see, it's a broad championship focused mainly channel, which is basically how I found you. But yeah, it's very good perspectives on a lot of older clubs, really, non-biased. I just want to ask, sort of, what got you to sort of start that? What was your sort of vision and motivation to start that channel on YouTube?
well, thank you first of all for watching it. That's it's great that people care about what I say about football, which is awesome. Like most, probably same as you guys, really. No intention to start it. Just enjoy football, enjoy debating football and chatting about football. I'm an Ipswich Town fan, so we had an Ipswich Town podcast, and with what was happening at Ipswich, it got a bit dull and a bit staid. I don't know if you remember it, but it was years and years in the Championship, and
Nick
all of a
McCarthy,
sudden I just went to I went to a couple of other games and covered them, and then all of a sudden you're doing Championship games as well. And then Ipswich had the brilliant brainwave of getting relegated and being one of the worst Championship teams in history. And you're kind of thinking, right, what do I do now? Because my team's in League One. But we just kept on doing Championship. And obviously lockdown's been a bit crappy. But what it has enabled the likes of me to do is I've been paid the self-employment payments and been able to just go hell for leather on the channel. So as much as it was rubbish to lose my job, it's actually given me the chance to focus on that. And yes, so we cover all of the Championship. I still look at Ipswich, but we've got the Blue Monday podcast. Don't really want to tread on their toes. And we still do the dearly departed team. So if you do get promoted, Swansea fans, I will still be covering you in the Premier League next year, along with Leeds and Villa, who look like they're staying, and Fulham look like they might stay now as well, which is starting to get interesting up there. But yeah, that's a bit. And thank you for being so kind about the channel, Luke.
No problem. While we're on the case of your channel, do you want to let everyone know where to find you?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel on YouTube. We do watch-alongs on the midweek games, and I do this Saturday Super Stream thing. So if you tune in at around 5 o'clock, you'll be there in time for the Swansea penalty. We got to laugh on that one.
No, it is. It's funny. You've got to laugh, haven't you? Because everyone else is crying. So
that goes every Saturday. We do a review every Monday. It's basically daily content of everything Championship with the few teams sprinkled in.
And didn't you say you're going to do a watch along for the Luton game, or you're going to be around for that one?
Yeah, so the Saturday Super Stream will pick up the second half of the Luton game, but they've put it 15 minutes earlier. I think they're going up against Leeds and Chelsea, so Sky have gone 15 minutes earlier to try and
get everyone.
Yeah, they don't quite realise how this game's going to play out, though, that nothing will happen in the
Yeah, I was going to say, everyone will be switched off by that time anyway, based on the last couple of games. But I think that's a good transition point then, so I think John's going to maybe take for a second to move on to Swansea.
Hiya, Ben. I love your passion, mate.
Hi,
I gotta say, you sound like a top guy. Just moving on to Swansea then, just a couple of points. I was just wondering on your opinions on sort of how you think our season's gone so far, and any standout players, and if sort of what your opinion on Steve Cooper.
Oh, well, lots to say. So I've been really, really impressed. First of all, because anyone who's watched my content knows I'm very anti-parachute payments, and not in terms of getting rid of them, but how things are, distributed. And you guys will all know that when we talk about Swansea and we talk about parachute payments, you've had them, but your managers have not been allowed to spend them. Is what we know, that it's kind of gone into the coffers, and Dan James has come through and McBurney's come through, and, you know, Potter and Cooper have had to pull rabbits out of hats. And generally, that signals a decline, doesn't it? So the parachute payments are not being spent, and the best players are being sold on for the big money into the Premier League. And obviously last year, Ayew was very good, and you kind of think, well, surely they can only afford to pay him for the one season, and he'll go to Turkey or something where someone can afford to pick up the tab. So I honestly thought you would regress this season. I thought it was a hell of a run for the playoffs. Yes, having Brewster is always helpful in the Championship, isn't it? That
was quality signing.
That'll get you a few.
Definitely missing him.
I think we call that a cheat code in the trade, don't we, Brewster in the Championship? But hey, we're going to see him again next season by the look of it. Yeah. So I thought, genuinely, I can't remember where I put you in my predictions. I thought you'd be outside the playoffs this year, but Cooper's done really, really well. I'm really impressed with him, actually, and particularly with things like game management and tweaking in game and whatnot. In terms of players, obviously Ayew is too good for the Championship. We know that, and it's a legacy contract from the Premier League, and you know he wants to stay and play for the money. So good luck to him. The wing backs have been really good, haven't they? Roberts and
17 assists between all the wing backs. So
really, Christ. Because actually, watching QPR last year. Well, they're two QPR players, Manning and Bidwell, aren't they? I thought, Manning will have that shirt in weeks, but Bidwell's done so well to, you know, keep him out of the team. Obviously, Grimes has been very good for a long time, hasn't he? In central midfield, and you're well stocked at centre back, but moreover, I think the way that Cooper's able to set up the defensive shape and strategy works for your defenders. Not to say that you're a defensive team, because I'm sure if you looked at the heat maps for your wing backs, they're way up the pitch, aren't they? Yeah. But it's this thing which I'm sure you've talked about until you're blue in the face of, would a number 9, obviously if you borrow Rhian Brewster it helps, or Tammy Abraham or Alex Mitrovic, or like teams have done in the last few seasons, but I don't know, if you put Pookie or Tony in Swansea's team this season, even Solanke or I don't know, Lucas João, going through the top 6 teams, João Pedro, whoever, would having that dedicated goal scorer help. And then it feels like he's just given up on having a number 10, because Hurahan isn't a number 10, he's sort of a number 8. So probably things but in short, I've been very, very impressed. I'd say Roberts is probably my... If when I'm doing my team of the season, and I'm very fussy about this, by the way, so if I'm not playing wing backs, Roberts can't go in because he's not a fullback, obviously. But I'd say Roberts would be, and Ayew just on talent.
Yeah, you hit a couple of good points there. Obviously, the investment. funnily enough, this season's probably the first season since we got relegated. They've actually brought a few players in more than maybe we've let go, to the extent where we thought they were good transfer windows, even after Joe Rodon went in summer.
I did mention him, yeah, good point.
Yeah, even January one, you look back now and you think it wasn't as great as it was, but that's mainly because Morris got injured. That I think, obviously, he's not an out-and-out striker like you said that we're missing, which we would all agree with that point. Our head of recruitment came out and did an interview not so long ago. We were supposed to bring in Michael Obafemi from Southampton, and the way that he was wording it, they kind of had all their eggs in that basket, didn't really have a backup plan, and it kind of shows, I guess, because we didn't fix the problem. I think Jamal Lowe's run of form before Christmas into January kind of made it look like it wasn't going to be a problem, but as soon as the transfer window was closed in February up to this point, it's definitely been a problem, and we could have done with that being fixed. And that is going to be probably the biggest issue going now to the end of the season, because we have been gritty all year, grinding out results, being hard to beat sort of thing, but now we're struggling to score goals, and we'll talk about the penalties. So that's probably a good time to sort of transition into that. So like I said, loving your overview of Swansea, but coming to the nitty-gritty now, the last sort of part of the season, and the last week and a half, if you like, there's been a lot of talk about Swansea being a bit lucky. Maybe it's a bit more than luck from what some people's opinions are. And then you look at Neil Warnock's comments on the matter as well. He's bringing Steve Cooper's dad into the equation.
You mean Neil Warnock stirred the pot? Really?
Yeah.
I never believe that.
I mean, it's bad enough before he had a relationship with Cardiff, I guess. But yeah, I just want to ask, like, we could go through the individual penalties, so there's the three of them really, and then what everything's been said about the situation. What is your opinion? Because there's just, I don't think I've ever seen so much sort of kicking off about a couple of penalties ever, to be honest. But maybe I'm being a bit like biased on that. But yeah, just want to see your view.
Well, I like to think that I'm right in the centre here, looking out at everybody. So the first thing I will say is, and present company accepted, football fans in the main are incapable of credibly debating decisions that involve their teams or teams that are challenging their teams.
We'll give it our best shot.
Or decisions against their teams. I'm not even talking about Swansea fans.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the reaction of other fans. So
I agree with that.
It is very hard for me to have a credible conversation with a Middlesbrough fan about this, a Stoke fan, a Blackburn fan, and then you get the Brentford, Norwich, Reading fans who are also basically everyone hates Swansea at the moment because they've got a few penalties.
I know.
My view, trying to be completely objective, and first of all, let's just be honest. Referees are not corrupt.
No.
Steve Cooper does not have influence. I mean, that's ridiculous. Let's just get the stupidity out of the way.
That is the thing that's just everywhere. That is like, but that's
ridiculous, isn't it? Come on. And we get this every time. Oh, he's a fraud. Oh, they're corrupt. And it's like, come on, behave, one or two. So, look, to take the decisions one after the other, I would suggest that the one against Stoke looked a little bit dubious to me.
I think we'd all agree on that one, to be honest.
May not have been given. I would also suggest that Mark Boller's goal against... you didn't mention this, but I think that goal should have stood.
But we all agree with that. I wasn't actually watching the game, but Lee was messaging me being like, we just got away with a massive... we just got away with something massive, basically. So I don't think any Swansea fan is against that.
So Bidwell and Saville, let's be honest, that one's an absolute nightmare for the ref, isn't it? And I sat down and I watched it, and I do this, believe me, because I want to get it right. When I watched it 10 or 20 times, and you're slowing it down, and Saville's foot is there first, and then Bidwell's foot's behind, and they kick at the same time, and Saville's foot might be hitting the ball, his side foot, but then Bidwell's toe is coming underneath. So
Yeah, it's difficult.
Without wanting to go all philosophy on you, I think the cornerstone of emotional maturity is to have empathy. And let's just say it like this. It's a nightmare for the referee. And even with VAR, it's a nightmare. So
yeah, I'm not sure VAR changes that decision because it's difficult, isn't it? Like you said, how many times can you slow it down?
Luke, I watched it 10 times and couldn't tell you which. I could have given it each way both times.
Yeah, exactly.
The one against Blackburn, I actually thought was a penalty. I thought Fulton toe ends it back. And you can see Gallagher, he tries to stop himself. He's like, oh, crap, I'm going to kick him. Yeah. Honestly, I don't want that to be a penalty. But in 2021, if you kick somebody in the box and miss time, it is a penalty. Where I got a bit annoyed is with the whole diving thing, because we've seen the one last night with Foden. I tweeted it this morning. Foden stays on his feet and doesn't get the penalty. And
that was bad.
Fulton goes down and does get the penalty. So it kind of, I understand Fulton going down. I think where we need to get to with the referees is we need to see a couple of penalties be given where the player doesn't go down.
Yeah, so he's on his feet.
The shirt gets pulled, the player's still on his feet. Stop the game, penalty, red card. Yeah, denial of obvious goal scoring opportunity, no attempt to play the ball. Give a couple of those, and we also need to see a penalty given and the player also be booked for diving. We need to see that as well to stop it. I'm not saying Fulton should have been booked, because in the current situation, I understand Fulton going down. The last thing I will add is that if you really flip it pro Swansea, shouldn't some credit be given in the 95th minute for the left wing back and the right centre back being in the penalty box for both of those? So look, it is what it is. Some of the reactions are ridiculous, and as Swansea fans, you have to block them out.
Yeah, we just take it what it is. Pinch of salt.
Yeah, you got a bit lucky on a couple of them, borderline on some of the others. But you could argue that Lenihan jumps with his arm up 10 minutes before, and that could have been a penalty. But no one wants to talk about that because it didn't get given. So it is what it is. All I would say is shut out the news and come to the Benjamin Bloom football channel for a sensible take on.
Well, I've been there. I've been coming to see what's been said, because I like reading the comments, and everyone's going like, when you did the watch along the other day, and everyone's there like, oh, when's the penalty going to be then? And then there actually was one. And then there was one that people were still saying was dubious.
Also, one other thing, I think a tip of the cap for Ayew as well. I mean, he's had three penalties in 90 plus minutes, and I mean, I hate that stutter step in his run up, but I mean, the composure to slot three away, in the 90 plus minute. I mean, a tip of the cap to him as well. But yeah, I totally agree with that.
He's actually had 4 in a row, though.
Spot on, especially the point on giving penalties. Yeah, well, exactly, but 3 of them were pressure ones in a 90 plus minute one. So.
Yeah, the one with the least pressure on was the worst one against Blackburn. That should have been saved, shouldn't it? The other 2 were really good. But he's a big moment, big name championship player, isn't he? He should be stepping up and taking that ball and saying, I'm gonna. And frankly, he's been on quite a quiet run, hasn't he? So it's good for his confidence and his numbers in terms of his output as well. So look. It'll be someone else's chip paper tomorrow. Someone will get a dodgy decision. To say something that means everything but means nothing. It is what it is. It just happens that they've come in consecutive games and they've come in injury time as well. And who knows? But were some of the decisions dubious? Possibly. Does that make Swansea lucky? Maybe, but also, again, wing-backs in the penalty box in away games in the 95th minute needs to be praised, doesn't it? Have Swansea players maybe gone down easily? Yes, but if they've also been fouled, then so what? Do you know what I mean?
So before Lee takes the end there, you've said about the wing-backs in the box. We touched on that on our video, obviously not playing well. But in the Middlesbrough game this was. they equalised, and we managed to get in that situation to get the winning goal. So that's a positive, obviously, as you've touched on. The other thing to end on this, Warnock's comments in regards to like things evening out over the course of the season, I actually agree with him on that one. But what people are not like talking about is, I don't know if you can remember, we had a game against Sheffield Wednesday at home where Casey Palmer scored a goal right at the end of the game. The ref just blew up for a foul, and there was literally no Swansea player near the keeper, which he got that wrong. So it's a disallowed goal that's cost us a win. There's a Bristol City away where Connor Roberts falls over, someone falls over him, and there's a penalty to Bristol, cost us a win. Look, I'm not saying those results are done, but it's just funny you said about things evening out, but people don't remember what might have happened before. So there we are, Lee. If you wanna take the last one.
Yeah, I've been enjoying taking a back seat on this. I've been enjoying listening to the chat actually, because it's nice to get an outside take on it, to be honest, and it's just nice to listen to. But I think the question on everyone's lips at the moment, especially amongst the Swansea fans, is we're starting to look at the run-in now. Obviously, there's very few games left, and we're getting to the business end of the season. So, just from an outside perspective, do you think that we can get over the line? I know our performances have been a bit, not at the top level of late. But do you think we can get over the line, and do you think we can get into that top two?
Oof. So it's so hard to call, because the way it's shaping out now is that Norwich have disappeared off into the distance, and I can make fairly sensible arguments that Swansea, Brentford and Watford at the moment are all unconvincing. There's no team, none of them are on an absolute tear. Obviously with Brentford, you've had the 3 straight defeats, and Rico Henry's injured, and Pontus Jansson is injured, and Josh Da Silva is injured, and maybe there's a reliance on Ivan Toney, and what if he were to get hurt? You would think that would seriously damage the Brentford chances. With Watford, I find them hard to call, because they've got some brilliant players at Championship level. Assange, João Pedro, Cleverly, defenders of quality. Firmino, the right back's really good as well. And they're second, and they've got this ludicrously good home record. And then I watch them, and I'm like, are you trying? Are you doing? What's going on with this? And then Swansea, the thing with Swansea all along was they were getting these results, but I've said this for a while, that it was kind of finely attuned. Woodman is good in goal, and the defence is good, and they concede chances but not many goals. And then at the other end, they don't have too many chances, and they've been put in it. So I always felt it was a little bit, when you look at Brentford and they create a ton of chances, and it's quite kind of viable, and scored 61 goals or something, haven't they? So there was always a sense with Swansea that if the cogs weren't completely clicking, you might get a little run like this. The real way you can look at this very positively, if you're a Swans fan, is that you're still picking up loads of points while the performances have dropped a little bit. Late goals, and obviously everyone will look in a slightly embittered way from the outside and say, oh, fluky, lucky, or what have you. But from a Swans point of view, look, the manager's very good. He's very good, and in game, and in terms of being able to absorb difficult situations, I think Swansea probably have got that over Brentford, maybe. I feel sorry for Brentford. They get tarred with the old bottler's brush. But there is an idea that when Brentford are put into adversity, they crumble. Whereas we know that Swansea are good at defending. They're good at being without the ball during games. And look at the games against Norwich and Brentford at home. They showed real mettle to absorb stuff, and I think it goes down to Cooper, really. Can they get second? Oh, Christ, it's a really good race, isn't it? It's three teams.
Bit of a roller coaster.
I don't see Reading winning 8 in 10, or Bournemouth, or and Barnsley have gone hell for leather to get.
Don't say Cardiff.
Fair play to Barnsley.
Don't say Cardiff.
Cardiff and Mick, yeah. I think they're all too far back, aren't they? But So in terms of automatic promotion, I'm really torn between the three. I think, let me say this fairly. Brentford, you would say, have the potential in terms of goal scoring and attacking.
Yeah.
Watford have the best players. Swansea probably have the best manager in terms of the pattern of play, which may make Swansea a good playoff team, but you probably, after last year, maybe that was a bit too early for
It depends who gets the sixth spot, really. Because if it's Cardiff, then I don't want to watch.
To call, isn't it? So hard to... Yeah, and you could get Swansea Cardiff in the playoffs, couldn't you, as well? Nightmare. It's... but Lee, it's...
Back
it's
to that point
so...
that...
Go ahead, John, sorry.
Sorry, guys. It comes back...
John, you're
to that
lagging.
point that there's a theory that Steve Cooper's a good tournament manager, obviously with the England youth setup. Yeah. Oh, sorry, man. No, go on. Carry on.
I think he's saying, obviously about Steve Cooper being with his English credentials when he was part of was it under 17s or under 18s, being a good tournament and knockout manager. I guess you're linking that with the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, can't you, Ben? Oh, technical difficulties all around. It's all right. Let me see.
There's a few tricky games. Sorry, did you lose me there?
Yeah, the sound wasn't coming through.
Yeah, we lost
it's back now, though, so we didn't hear the start.
So I was just looking at the fixtures, and there's sort of a game against Bournemouth, a game against Cardiff, and Watford at the end of the season. Look, it's going to be very, very tight, and I don't know if you guys have looked, because I have, but you wouldn't want to be Reading in April, and you wouldn't want to be Watford going over the line, because they've got Norwich, Swansea and Brentford in their last 4 games. So what I would say is if it's where it is with 3 games to go, you're going to become the favourites, especially with did I say, is it Brentford, Watford, right near the... Am I right about that?
We've played Brentford twice, haven't we? We've got Watford the last game of the season. I think when I checked the run-ins, us and Brentford's are quite, okay. Watford probably have a little bit worse, I think.
Yeah.
I think Watford have got the worst one. I think I'm going to be really on the fence with this statement, but I think when we started the podcast in January, I remember saying to Luke, I said, like you've touched on with Watford's squad, I said, I think they've got too much for us and Brentford, just in terms of the players that they've got in the squad. But somehow, up to this point, we've still managed to stay in there. And I think you've touched on the style of play, and we've got that ability to, to sit in and have a bit of mettle and get a result. So I think that playing like Watford and Reading in these big games in the run-in, that probably suits us more in terms of we've got to get a result in this game. I think lately we just haven't been able to get it going. And like you said, our best performance of the season was probably Norwich at home. So I think and Cardiff away. So I think when it is something on the line and we've got to get something, we have got that mettle. So I can't call it myself. I have no idea.
It's tricky.
It looks, it looks like if you don't have a lead by the last day of the season, that it could be Brentford, doesn't it? Because I just looked, it's Bristol City, Brentford on the last day, and Bristol City are going to be on the beach with 4 or 5 to go. They're going to be right in the middle, aren't they? And then you just wouldn't, because we've seen it in the Championship before. Those last day of the seasons, oh my God, the players play like they've got weights around their legs,
and it's Watford as well, isn't it? So.
And it's Watford, exactly. So basically,
want to rely on that.
You don't want to be going into the Watford game needing to win. Although sometimes you get these ones, and that's exactly what you need. You need to win, and you go and do the job. So,
final point for me, and I'm only touching on this because of what you've mentioned, but I told you about the loud sort of fans in our fan base. You've been praising Steve Cooper quite a lot, saying that he's a fantastic manager, and some of the highlights that you've said are his game management, in-game, stuff like that. Our fans really think he doesn't manage a game well. I would like to just raise that point. I'm not saying that we necessarily think that. Some of the criticisms we've had in the past are to do with the substitutions that he makes or doesn't really make, and not as much rotation for the team. But a large section of the fan base takes that a step further, and I think he really is not good tactically in game, and he can't change it. which I don't necessarily agree with, but it's nice to hear like a neutral who watches a lot of Championship content, because you cover essentially the whole league, so you can compare with everyone a lot more than maybe the average Swansea fan who only watches Swansea games. Yeah. So I think it's a good point that you've raised that.
So I've got a lot to say about that. First thing would be is, as you've just said, I don't watch Swansea every week. Now, that may mean that some Swansea fans know more about it than me, but that may also make me a little bit more dispassionate and removed to be able to judge it in a less emotional way. The second thing I would say is in-game does not begin and end with substitutions. And I'm not criticising your fan base or your audience, but there are plenty of things you'll see. I watched the Barnsley-Swansea game, and do not tell me he didn't absolutely nail playing against Barnsley's press in that game.
No, that was fantastic.
Don't tell me
result.
he didn't nail the Norwich game as well. Don't tell me how the hell you got away without losing to Brentford as well. Is anyone knows. So it's not all down to substitutions. Dare I say, if you've had Brendan Rodgers and Michael Laudrup and played this type of football before, that a type of football where the manager is good defensively, maybe your expectations are higher, and you want to be pinging it about and creating tons of chances, and Scott Sinclair and Michu are scoring tons of goals every week or what have you. So it may be that, but what I would say is just the way it's set up. And okay, maybe I'll concede to the Swansea fans. Let me put it more down the pattern of play argument than the in-game argument, okay? Because a lot of the real absolutists in terms of philosophy watch Norwich under Farke, watch Leeds under Bielsa. They never change their teams. It's all about the absolute from week to week. Yes, okay, someone will comment that Bielsa does 2 subs at half-time sometimes. Yes, he does. Yeah, but look at Norwich in particular. He gets exactly the same criticism, Oh, we're not winning. Why are you not bringing 8 forwards on at 60 minutes or what have you? But it's all about, no, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. This is what we've rehearsed. It's not working. So we're going to stick with it, and we're going to go with it. But I'll end all of that by saying, yes, I don't watch Swansea every week. So I'm not, and everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah, of course.
But sometimes when you get fans, what they do is they oversimplify the game so they can fixate on something absolute, like substitutions or throw-ins or set plays. So this team's bad because the corner taker hits the first man. That's it. Beginning and end of. Because that's something that's very simplistic, and you can work with it, yeah? And sometimes I think managers, there'll be a lot that Steve Cooper's doing that the likes of you and I, who are even quite well read about football, we wouldn't have a clue, because it's above our level of analysis. Yeah. And this guy is a highly qualified coach, and I think as well, just big picture, when you look at what Championship teams are up against in terms of every year, the 3 teams come down with the 45 million quid. And yes, you've had the parachutes, but not spent them. I'm a big fan of Steve Cooper. Yeah.
No, I think you've really summed that up like really well. You mentioned the whole Laudrup and Rodgers stuff. That is a massive part of the issue. And the fact that you've said that from an outside perspective, I'm quite intrigued with that, because we were saying literally in one of our last videos, people are sort of just, they can't get over this romanticism of what the Swansea way is and what it's been in the past. And this season, we've shown we can do that in bits, but then we've also shown a more defensive outlook and unit, and the last month or so has been all about that. People just can't seem to get their head around that. It's like that conversation of results or performances, like play well and lose, or just grind out a win. And that's been a massive debate the last week or two. But we really appreciated time. I know we've kept you.
Luke, sorry,
go on.
Just quickly on that. You can't win sometimes. Brentford and Norwich will get criticised. Oh, they can't defend.
Yeah.
Because they're a really flowing attacking team. Middlesbrough and Cardiff, they're boring. They do nothing going forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the Championship. This is not Foden, Mahrez, Jesus, De Bruyne, where they can attack, defend with perfect balance. These Championship players are young players who are possibly going to play at a higher level, older players who have played at a higher level and are coming down. There are players who pop into that Championship level player because they have a key flaw that stops them playing at the top level, or Andre Ayew, where there's a circumstance where it's a legacy contract and he ends up there, or Emi Buendia or Sarr. They're clearly too good. They're not going to be here long, but away they go. This is the Championship, and we don't get perfectly balanced teams who attack and defend in perfect synergy. Frankly, if they did, the players would all be snapped up within 3 months or whatever of a transfer window. So I do think we need, and bear in mind, I support a League One team. So imagine me having this same rant. These are League One players. Do you know what I mean? Multiplied by 2.
I was going to say...
You cannot expect Swansea, with Steve Cooper in the Championship, with the ownership pulling out the parachute money, to give you a perfectly balanced team that looks like the one that finished. Where did you finish in the Premier League and won the League Cup?
That season was about mid-table, wasn't it?
I was like 8th, wasn't it?
Exactly.
9th,
You did, that's an unfair comparison, isn't it? It's apples and oranges. It's a false equivalence. I think it would be fair to.
Yeah, I think we've said something similar on the last video. I remember saying, like, if everybody plays good football, then it's essentially redundant, isn't it? I mean, you've got to find different ways to play especially in the Championship, and I think that people are sort of forgetting that Cooper's just doing the best he can.
Look at the Barnsley Derby game last night. Barnsley win 7 on the trot. Derby basically just say, okay, fine, we'll take 0-0 and we'll clear the ball every time we get it. So you're right. As soon as you're into one trend, someone will then set up, and it's normally one of these Rowett, McCarthy, Warner.
Oh yeah.
It's normally one of these type guys who are not wedded to a particular philosophy and willing to change depending on opponents. They'll figure it out, and they will S-house that 1-0 away win, and you'll be going, oh, maybe we need to change from that. So,
exactly.
Could be a lot worse than Steve could put it that way.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, and just before Luke rounds us off as well, I just wanted to say about Ipswich. Are you happy with Paul Cook taking over? What do you think in a late playoff, getting into the playoffs? And you're only 1 point out at the moment, yeah.
I'm very, very happy with Paul Cook taking over. I have absolutely no expectations of us doing anything this season. That wouldn't be fair on Cook. But secretly, if after you hit stop, I'll tell you I want us to get into the playoffs. But my public answer would be let Paul Cook have the summer, and hopefully they can push on. Obviously, excitement at a club that has not had much. So forgive me my 3 weeks of optimistic being an Ipswich fan.
I don't know, we were talking about that watch along. I thought you loved it last night.
Oh, God, it was the worst. The absolute worst. And again, this is Wayne Rooney. I couldn't respect Wayne Rooney anymore. And I got so much respect for these Barnsley players, League One coming up. But it was a terrible, terrible first half.
It was funny to watch. Like, it was a good watch along for like everything there was in the football, really, I guess. Which credit to you, because you obviously kept it engaging, even though the match was necessarily not.
Luke, you made a very good point actually in the comments that it does feel a little bit of a sense of. I've worked in education, right? And when you get up to July, it's like, do you remember Gladiators, where they're running up the travelator and just can't get to the end and they're falling down? It feels like some of the players, bless them, just need to get to this international break and have 10 days off, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and you're going to get games like Blackburn Swansea, which wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't on the Derby Barnsley level last night. But I think we've got this weekend round, then we've got the midweek, and then is it international break?
There's another weekend round.
Oh my God!
So there's this weekend,
another
midweek.
3-game week.
Yeah,
and then so look, in that midweek round, we might get some even worse games because I just think everyone's mentally knackered, and when you can see that finish line, particularly if you're a Barnsley on a winning streak, or if you're a Swansea with a game in hand, just with everybody watching you, trying to get that little, it's
tough.
Mentally and physically, it's just exhausting, isn't it? Christ.
Yeah, we got Bournemouth and Cardiff next week, so I hope it's better.
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow.
I know. But we've been going for a while, and I really appreciate you coming on. I could probably ask you questions all day, so hopefully we'll be able to. You never know, Ipswich might come up, and we might not go up, and who knows? We could maybe have a couple more things going forwards with some cross-match conversations.
Always willing to talk about football, and good luck to the Swans this season. Who the hell knows which of those three is going to get the second place? But look, you're going to be in the playoffs at minimum, so it's going to be exciting, and we'll see what happens. Although I dare say, and it's probably a horrible way to end the conversation, though, a playoff defeat and a few contracts ending, and I think there might be a few people interested in your manager.
We think we're not going up. We're prepared. I think there was rumours about Crystal Palace, but see what happens. Let's just see how the season finishes, and then we'll cross that bridge. Maybe we know there's a couple Ives going to go.
Any relegated team is now going to look and say, "Oh, so Steve Cooper, he didn't get bugger all money, and he's got playoffs 2 seasons running." Okay.
Yeah, I could see. You could see Brighton coming down and them getting rid of Potter, and then they'll take our other managers.
We'll just take Potter back then, is it?
We'll swap. Yeah.
Well, you get some beautiful football with him, but you might be a few places lower in the table.
Yeah, exactly. And that is again, as what we were saying, another part of that puzzle. But yeah, that's look. I'll end up here, and like I said, we've got plenty more we can talk to Ben about, and hopefully in the future we will. So thank you very much for coming on again. If you want to remind everybody where they can see your wonderful content, and maybe on Twitter as well.
Yeah, at Benjamin Bloom on Twitter. Any stats I tweet are tweeted without opinion, without context, and if anyone comments on them, that's them adding their agenda to my stats. I come completely from a unimpeachably neutral position, obviously. Benjamin Bloom Football Channel on YouTube, and please hit subscribe, because like I say, even if Swans do go up, I'll still be covering them as a dearly departed team. And if anyone really likes me, and I mean really, really, loves me, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom as well for some extra bonus content.
Check him out. Like I said, great content creator. I'll be looking forward, regardless of us going up or down, to see how you continue to cover from a non-biased perspective how we're doing. So thank you very much again for coming on. Cheers, Lee and John, as well, for joining us. And I'll end up here. We might talk about more things later on. But it's been a good one, guys. So see you later.
See you soon.